By 1983, the Cold War wasn't just rivalry, it was suspicion with a hair trigger. Both sides believed the other might try a surprise advantage, and every exercise, speech, and new weapon was interpreted through fear. When trust is gone, even normal signals look like threats. Early warning is a promise. We will see an attack in time to respond. But the sky is noisy. Clouds, sunlight, reflections, and sensor quirks. In 1983, both superpowers bet that technology could turn uncertainty into certainty. Complex systems throw false alarms the way forests throw shadows. Most are dismissed and forgotten, but each one trains people, either to panic too fast or to ignore too much. In nuclear command chains, the cost of the wrong habit is unimaginable. Just weeks earlier, a tragedy in the skies deepened paranoia and hardened assumptions on both sides. When crises stack, leaders stop treating the next warning as hypothetical. The atmosphere of 1983 was not calm. It was primed. Military exercises can look like cover for real moves, especially when trust is thin. In 1983, signals and intentions were constantly misread across the divide. The danger wasn't a single event. It was the pattern of misinterpretation. Deterrence says, if you strike first, you will be destroyed. But deterrence depends on accurate perception, knowing what is real and what is not. A false warning attacks the foundation. It forces a decision before truth arrives. Because missiles travel fast, leaders want minutes, sometimes only minutes, to choose. Early warning systems are designed to buy that time, but the faster a system demands action, the less time there is to confirm reality. At the end of every machine is a person who must decide what the machine means. In 1983, one such person was Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov, serving as duty officer at a secret early warning center. He was trained for protocol, but also for engineering reality. The early warning bunker was designed like a pressure vessel, sealed, disciplined, and optimized for rapid reporting. Screens glowed, phones waited, and crews worked the night shift so leaders could sleep. Until they couldn't. Most nights were routine. Check system status, log readings, verify communications. Routine is important because it creates baseline normal. The story's first twist is that the coming alarm would arrive wearing the mask of a normal system message. The Soviet OKO system used satellites to look for the heat signature of missile launches, an instant flash against a dark Earth. It was clever, but it depended on geometry and clean signals. If the sky produced a fake flash, the system could be fooled. Sensors don't understand politics. They convert light into numbers, then software turns numbers into labels like launch. That label feels authoritative, but it is still an interpretation, one that can be wrong. Ground-based radar could confirm incoming missiles, but it could only see them once they rose over the horizon. That meant a painful gap. Satellites might warn early, while radar stayed silent, at least for a while. Redundancy sounds comforting. Multiple sensors, multiple checks. But redundancy only helps if people are trained to weigh contradictions instead of letting the loudest alarm win. Systems can be redundant on paper and fragile in practice. False positives occur when rare conditions imitate the signature you're searching for. In space-based warning, one culprit is sunlight reflecting off high clouds at the Earth's edge, bright enough to look like a rocket plume to a sensor. In the bunker, information arrived as screens, tones, and status lamps. The room wasn't built for storytelling, it was built for speed. That means a flashing alarm could dominate attention, even if it was wrong. If the system declared a launch, the duty officer's job was to report immediately up the chain. The chain would decide response posture. Petrov's role was not to choose nuclear war, but his report could start an unstoppable escalation sequence. Intercontinental missiles would reach targets in roughly half an hour, but leadership decisions had to happen much earlier than impact. The true enemy was the clock. It demanded action before certainty could arrive. OKO was built in a world where leaders feared being blinded by a surprise strike. That fear shaped design priorities: speed, sensitivity, and fast reporting. But sensitivity can mistake bright clouds for missiles if the logic isn't careful. All of this technology, doctrine and fear funnel into one ordinary night. The shift crew monitors normal signals, waiting for nothing. And then the system will suddenly insist, something is happening now. It was late on September 26th, and the bunker's rhythm was familiar. Checks, logs, quiet conversations. Petrov was relatively new in this specific duty role, but he understood engineering and system behavior. That mix, protocol plus skepticism, would matter soon. Normal readings are the reference point for everything else. The crew watched stable indicators, confirming that systems were connected and clocks synchronized. Stability is what makes the next jump feel terrifying. Petrov was trained to respect alarms, but he also knew systems can lie under rare conditions. Engineers learn to ask, does this behavior make sense with the world outside the screen? That question is harder when the screen is screaming. Even in calm moments, command rooms carry hierarchy. People look to the duty officer for cues, relax, or tense up. Leadership is sometimes as simple as whether your shoulders stiffen first. Everyone had practiced drills. What to do if the system reports a launch. Drills create muscle memory, and muscle memory can bypass doubt. The risk is acting like it's a drill when it isn't, or acting like it's real when it isn't. The first warning wasn't cinematic. It was a tone, a light, a status change. Small signals that something shifted from watch to alert. And then the big alarm would arrive then. Displays moved from routine layouts to alert layouts. Icons rearranged, attention narrowed, and the room's air felt thinner. The machine was preparing to say the most dangerous word it knew how to say. Attack. Even before a call is made, people mentally climb the ladder. Duty officer, commanders, political leadership. Each rung adds pressure because it reduces your ability to reverse the message. Once you say launch, you can't unsay it easily. In moments like this, the clock feels like a sound. Every tick suggests less time to verify and more time for panic to fill the gap. Nuclear decision-making is time compression as policy. The alarm hit with authority. The system didn't say maybe. It declared a launch had been detected. In that instant, a software label tried to rewrite reality. The first indication was not 1,000 missiles. It was one. A single launch can still be the opening move in a nuclear exchange. But it is also the kind of thing a sensor might misread. Petrov's brain immediately asked, why one? Protocol expected the duty officer to report quickly. The entire logic of early warning is speed. Warn leaders while there is still time. But speed and certainty are enemies. And the alarm was pushing hard towards speed. Then the system reported another launch and then more. The count rose to 5. That pattern looked more like a limited first strike, a terrifying scenario planners had imagined. The room's temperature seemed to drop as the number rose. People began speaking faster, moving quicker, repeating checks. In a crisis, language compresses into fragments. Confirmations, code words, yes, no. The bunker had become a machine inside the machine. Petrov later said the alert didn't feel right. 5 missiles didn't match the logic of a true U.S. first strike, which would likely be massive. That intuition wasn't luck. It was systems thinking. Does the story fit the strategy? The crew looked for corroboration. If missiles were truly inbound, other indicators should start aligning. The most important confirmation would be ground radar. But radar would be late. That delay was the knife edge. Reporting upward would trigger a chain of heightened readiness. Even if leaders did not launch immediately, alerts could change posture, move forces, and raise the chance of accidental escalation. The phone on Petrov's desk was a one-way door. If Petrov reported and the alert was false, he would be blamed for a national panic. If he failed to report and it was real, the cost could be annihilation. The terror is not knowing which mistake you are about to make. The system was confident because the sensor geometry produced a clean-looking signal. But clean signals can still be wrong when the environment behaves unusually. Machines don't know rare sunlight angles. They only know thresholds. Petrov made the critical call. He treated the warning as a false alarm, at least until confirmation arrived. That decision did not erase danger. It bought time. He chose to slow the chain in a world built to accelerate it. Once Petrov leaned toward false, the bunker's job became verification, fast, disciplined, and skeptical. They cross-checked sensors, reviewed system status, and searched for any sign that the world outside the bunker matched the screens. The difference between war and no war was now a checklist without time. Radar had not yet confirmed anything. That could mean nothing is coming, or it's too early. The uncertainty is brutal, because both interpretations feel plausible. 5 missiles still haunted the room. It was enough to be credible as an opening move, but too small to be certain. Petrov's mind kept returning to strategy. If you were truly striking first, would you gamble on only 5? Under stress, people look for permission to panic. Petrov's calm became a tool. It helped the crew keep hands steady and voices clear. Sometimes leadership is not shouting, it is preventing shouting. Petrov still had to communicate, but he framed the situation as uncertain, not confirmed. A crucial difference in a chain that amplifies urgency. A careful message can be a safety valve. The system offered confidence because it matched thresholds. Petrov offered doubt because he knew thresholds are human choices. The incident is a perfect picture of human in the loop, not as decoration, but as defense. The crucial moment was when enough time passed that radar should have seen incoming missiles if they were real. Waiting became the hardest action. Doing nothing while the alarm screams to do something. Still nothing. The absence of confirmation grew heavier than any alarm tone. In system safety, no signal can be the clearest signal of all, if you trust your sensors and timing. Petrov's decision aged well minute by minute. What looked like an incoming strike now looked like a false report. But in the bunker, relief was muted, because the system had just proved it could cry wolf convincingly. When the immediate crisis faded, a deeper question appeared. How could the system be so wrong, so loudly? If it happened once, it could happen again. The bunker returned to routine, but routine no longer felt innocent. After the event, reports and logs mattered. In militarized systems, paperwork is how reality becomes official. The wording, certain versus uncertain, could decide careers and doctrines. The time window was short, but not measured in seconds. It was measured in decisions. The world was close to an irreversible escalation path, not necessarily an immediate launch. Still, that difference is cold comfort when the path exists at all. Investigators traced the cause to rare geometry. Sunlight reflecting off clouds near the Earth's limb, creating patterns the satellite interpreted as launches. Nature produced a perfect imitation, and software believed it. Sensitivity was a political choice. Better to warn too often than to miss a real strike. But if you warn too often, people either panic or stop believing you. That is the paradox of alarm systems under existential stakes. Petrov did not receive a public medal that day. In fact, the incident was uncomfortable. It highlighted system flaws and human deviation from strict protocol. Institutions don't always reward the person who prevents embarrassment. The Cold War thrived on secrecy. Incidents like this were buried, partly to avoid showing weakness. But secrecy also prevents learning, and unlearned lessons have a habit of returning. After the shift, technicians went home, ate breakfast, rode buses, and acted normal. That contrast is chilling. The world can almost end at 20 minutes, and by 8:20 minutes, people are buying bread. On the other side of the world, Washington did not know it had nearly triggered a nightmare. That is the nature of false alarms. They happen inside one system, while everyone else continues living. There was a hotline for crises, but you don't use it for an unconfirmed alarm, because that could itself be interpreted as escalation. In high-tension systems, even asking a question can sound like a threat. To engineers, the incident became a case study in rare failure. To Petrov, it was a memory of minutes that felt like hours. The world moved on, but the system had quietly shown its teeth. For a long time, the incident stayed hidden. When it finally surfaced years later, people struggled to believe how close the world came to catastrophe without anyone noticing. Near misses are invisible until someone tells them. The Petrov alarm wasn't unique. The Cold War produced several moments where misunderstanding nearly became disaster. That is the lesson. The system's risk is cumulative, not singular. Some doctrines consider responding based on warning before impact, to avoid losing forces on the ground. That doctrine makes early warning incredibly powerful and incredibly dangerous, because a false warning can become a real launch. Automation can reduce workload, but it can also amplify a rare error into a loud, authoritative message. When an automated system speaks in the language of certainty, people feel pressure to obey it. Petrov didn't guess randomly, he used reasoning. The pattern seemed implausible, radar wasn't confirming, and the system was new and unproven. He treated the machine's output as a claim, not a fact. That framing saved time. Stress narrows thinking. Calm widens it. Petrov's calm kept the crew from spiraling into pure procedure. In high-stakes systems, emotional regulation becomes a technical skill. After such incidents, systems are modified. Filters improved, thresholds adjusted, confirmation logic strengthened. The technical fixes matter, but the cultural fixes matter more. How people are trained to question. Secrecy protects capabilities, but it also prevents outsiders from auditing risk. Nuclear safety lives in the tension between don't reveal and learn faster. The Petrov incident is a case study in that trade. Petrov became famous late and unevenly, praised by some, ignored by others. He did not claim to be a savior. He described himself as doing his job. That humility is part of what makes the story believable. The deepest lesson is uncomfortable. The world's safety sometimes rests on ordinary people making good decisions under terrible ambiguity. Not on perfect machines, not on perfect leaders, on the human link refusing to panic. Safety engineers often describe disasters as layers of defense. The Petrov incident shows the same idea in reverse. Layers of defense prevented a false signal from becoming a final decision. The layers were imperfect, but they existed. One key lesson is multi-source confirmation. If one sensor family can be fooled by a rare natural condition, the system must treat it as suspect until independent checks agree. Diversity of sensors is diversity of truth. Procedures matter, but so does the ability to recognize when procedures are being applied to a broken context. Good training teaches people to ask, "What would I expect to see next?" and to pause if the next thing doesn't happen. Fast launch postures reduce reaction time but increase accidental risk. The safer the system needs to be, the more it should resist acting on early ambiguous warnings. Time buffers are peace buffers. In tense rivalries, each side watches the other's posture for clues. A false alarm can cause defensive moves that look offensive, triggering counter moves. Preventing spirals requires deliberate restraint and clear channels. Many systems present outputs as binary, threat or no threat. But uncertainty is the real state of the world. Better interfaces show confidence ranges and reasons, so humans can judge, not just obey. Petrov's decision wasn't about being brave. It was about being humble before uncertainty. He trusted that if missiles were real, reality would soon provide more evidence. He refused to let a screen be the only witness. Modern systems, financial markets, power grids, automated defense still face the same risk. Rare false signals amplified by speed. The Petrov incident is not ancient history. It is a warning about how automation and incentives can collide. Counterfactuals are dangerous, but they clarify stakes. A stronger report could have raised readiness, shortened decision windows, and increased the chance of misinterpretation on both sides. The point is not one man saved the world, it's that the system was built too close to the cliff. A 1983 false alarm teaches a simple truth. The world's most dangerous machines are also social machines. They combine sensors, software, hierarchy, fear, and time pressure. That night, one duty officer treated an alarm as a claim that needed proof, and the chain slowed long enough for reality to catch up. In history, sometimes the event that changes everything is the one that doesn't happen.